Hey, this is Nathaniel back with coding-bootcamps.com, and in this video we're going to kick off our querying section by talking about two methods that we can use to query data, find and FindOne. So to kick things off, I'm back here on the terminal, and I'm just going to show you that I have a new JavaScript file I've written. It's called queries.js. If we go over to look at this file, I've written a little bit of code that looks really similar to our last example that we used in section 2 for CRUD. So similarly, we're just getting our database, MyDB3. We're deleting all of the data inside of that collection using delete many, which we talked about now at the end of toward the end of our CRUD section. This just gives us a baseline. We're starting from scratch, so we know what we're working with, basically. It's nice to get in a baseline state before doing things, especially for examples like these. The next thing we're doing is we're defining an employee again. The schema is the same, just meaning all of these field keys are the same, but we're actually defining two employees. The first one, John Smith, hasn't changed, and the second one is a different employee named Jane Bradley, and she, importantly to note, works in the same department. So all of this information is different except the department. That's what these two documents have in common. So now we go ahead and insert both of our employees. And now this is where our example really kicks off here, because everything up until this point we've really already done in the CRUD section. But now we're going to illustrate the difference between find and FindOne. So in the case that I want to find everyone that works in the IT department, I would want to use .find, specifying department IT, and I would get back essentially a list of all employees, all documents where the record has a department of IT. So I would get back employee 1 and I would get back employee 2. Now, the syntax for this can be a little confusing. Don't let it throw you off, but it doesn't actually return a list of all these records. It returns what's called a cursor in Mongo, and it's basically an index. Like, you can think of it like it's a pointer to the first document, right? But there are more than one, so we have to basically iterate over this list of documents. And the reason I want to just emphasize that is because if you just run this bit, just this, you'll get back a cursor. And so if you try to print the result of this, you're not going to get a list of all of the employees that you want. So I'm just trying to emphasize that this bit actually returns a cursor in Mongo, and you have to actually look at that data associated with the cursor in a particular way. So it sounds a little confusing, but really what it means for us is just that after we make this call, we're going to say .for each, and we're just going to put this bit of code in here to tell it to print all of the documents that it finds. So what this is saying is, without going into too much detail about the syntax, all it's saying is that we've found a document in our list and we want to print it. If I wanted to make this function do more, I could just stick more inside of here, right? I could do other things. Okay, so that should give you an idea of how to work with find and for each to loop over all of the data in there. Right now we're just printing the document. Now the difference here, it's slightly more complicated, but it's also very useful what we're doing here. If you use FindOne, it's great if you're querying over data where you only expect one result. Perhaps if you're querying by email address and you expect only one person with that email address, it's totally fine. The problem though, and we're going to illustrate this, is that if we find one on department IT, we're only going to get back one record, and it probably will be random. We're going to get back John, or we're going to get back Jane, and maybe one time we get John back, one time we get Jane back. So we have to be really careful with how we use FindOne. Um, when in doubt, I would really recommend using find and just looping over the data, because if you're not sure if you're going to get more than one result back, you should probably assume that you're going to get more than one result back. But let's go ahead and run this example, and we should see that both employees get printed out here, one after the other. We'll find two documents. We're going to loop over both of them, and we're going to print them out. And then the next little bit here, we're going to find one document, and this is going to show us that we're actually only going to get one employee back here from FindOne. So let's save this, and let's go to our terminal, and let's run the same command as before, except I've changed the name of the JavaScript file that we're using to queries.js, and I'm going to hit that, and now we see that we have finding all documents, and we get back both employees that have department IT. But the second part here, finding one document, we only get back John. So I hope this illustrates the difference between find and FindOne, and how you really have to be a little bit careful and think about what data you're expecting back, and always just err on the side of assuming that you're going to get more than one document back. All right, great. In the next section, we're going to, or excuse me, in the next video, we're going to continue talking about querying data in some more advanced ways. See you then.